Look at a globe, and Alaska stands out as a stark geographic anomaly. It is a massive territory separated from the contiguous United States by all of Canada, yet it sits directly adjacent to Russia. Long before any foreign flags were planted, this land possessed a thriving baseline of human history. Indigenous peoples, including the Inupiat, Yupik, Aleut, Tlingit, Haida, and Athabascan communities, successfully mastered the extreme Arctic environment. European contact came much later. In 1741, Russian explorers arrived on the coast. They were driven entirely by financial incentives, launching a rapid colonial expansion to corner the highly lucrative sea otter fur trade. The Russians left a heavy physical and cultural footprint across the territory, building active settlements, trading posts, and large Orthodox churches. Alaska's extreme geography heavily dictated this early history. It was a highly isolated frontier, accessible only to the indigenous communities already adapted to its severity, or to outsiders willing to risk the high-stakes pursuit of resource wealth. But for Russia, maintaining that distant frontier became a heavy liability. Following the final war, the Russian Empire faced financial ruin. They knew they could no longer defend the isolated colony, especially if the rival British Empire decided to move in and seize it. U.S. Secretary of State William H. Seward seized on this moment of Russian vulnerability and pushed the American government to acquire the land. This official Treasury warrant validates the exact cost of the 1867 transaction to Russia. Breaking down that $7.2 million price tag, the United States acquired a landmass twice the size of Texas for roughly 2 cents an acre. Despite the low cost per acre, the American press unleashed a brutal public backlash. They branded the acquisition Seward's Folly, loudly dismissing the entire territory as a useless, frozen wasteland. This forced a major geopolitical question. Did the United States purchase a permanent economic liability, or did the critics fail to see a hidden asset? Public perception experienced its first major shift in the late 19th century. The Klondike Gold Rush brought a sudden flood of American settlers rushing north, eager to extract the literal, surface-level wealth hidden in the ice. Decades later, the outbreak of World War II in the Pacific Theater permanently shifted how the U.S. viewed the territory. Alaska's extreme geographic isolation instantly turned into a highly critical military frontline against Japanese forces. The subsequent Cold War raised those stakes. Because of its direct proximity to the Soviet Union, the American military required permanent, high-tech fortification directly across the Arctic Circle. This undeniable strategic importance directly led to a political milestone. In 1959, the federal government officially granted Alaska statehood. By the mid-20th century, the onset of global warfare had completely erased the joke of Seward's Folly. Alaska was now recognized as an indispensable strategic shield for North America. Beyond military defense, the late 20th century revealed another massive advantage: the discovery of massive subsurface reserves of oil and natural gas. Extracting that energy required immense industrial mobilization. Workers carved enormous pipeline infrastructure straight across the frozen interior to transport the resources south. This chart compares the financial return. The left shows the 1867 purchase price. The right shows modern Alaska generating billions in annual GDP and resources. Adding contributions from fisheries and tourism, the modern economic engine grows even larger. The successful extraction of these resources invalidated the Seward's Folly narrative and established a pillar of American energy independence. Today, rapid climate change is introducing entirely new geographic variables. As Arctic temperatures rise, massive shelves of ice are melting and receding. This receding ice is opening up previously impassable waterways, creating entirely new, highly efficient shipping routes for global trade. Accessing these lanes requires modern mobilization. Global superpowers are actively deploying heavy icebreaker fleets to navigate and establish control over these newly accessible corridors. Global powers are now actively competing to claim the massive energy reserves becoming accessible beneath the Arctic Ocean. Looking back at the American press of 1867, it is obvious the original critics lacked any long-term geographic vision. They judged the territory entirely by its surface temperatures. Alaska remains America's most consequential real estate investment, granting the United States permanent leverage in the future of international relations.